The Viking Age, a time of iron, a time of ships, a time of legend. This era, spanning from the late 8th century to the 11th century AD, saw the rise of a people whose influence would ripple through history. The Vikings, fierce warriors and intrepid explorers from the Scandinavian lands, embarked on journeys that would leave an indelible mark on the world. From the rugged coastlines of Norway, the dense forests of Sweden and the fertile plains of Denmark, these seafaring Norsemen set forth on their iconic longships. Their voyages took them to the farthest reaches of Europe and beyond, driven by a combination of necessity and ambition. But who were they, beyond the horned helmets and tales of plunder? The popular image of the Viking as a ruthless marauder is only a fragment of their story. In reality, they were a complex society with a rich cultural heritage. Their saga is one of resilience, adaptation, and a surprising sophistication that belies their barbarian image. They were skilled artisans, creating intricate jewelry and weaponry, and their craftsmanship was highly valued. The Vikings were not a unified nation, but a collection of chiefdoms and small kingdoms scattered across Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. Each region had its own leaders, customs and traditions, yet they were bound by a common cultural thread. They shared a language, a belief system centered around gods like Odin and Thor, and a thirst for adventure that led them to explore new lands. Their mythology and sagas, passed down through generations, tell tales of heroism, exploration, and the supernatural, driven by a combination of factors: overpopulation, limited farmland, political upheaval. The Vikings took to the seas. Their homeland's harsh conditions and the promise of wealth and new territories spurred them to venture into the unknown. Their superior shipbuilding skills and seafaring knowledge made them masters of the waves. The longship, with its sleek design and shallow draft, allowed them to navigate both open seas and inland rivers, making surprise raids and swift escapes possible. This period saw them raid, trade, and settle across vast swathes of Europe and beyond. They were not just warriors, but also traders who established extensive networks, exchanging goods like furs, amber, and slaves for silver, spices, and other luxuries. From the British Isles to North Africa, their reach was vast. They raided monasteries, struck fear into the hearts of coastal communities, and left a lasting impact on the regions they touched. From Russia to North America, their influence spread far and wide. They established trade routes that connected disparate parts of the world, bringing together cultures and ideas. The Vikings left their mark wherever they went. Their legacy can be seen in the archaeological remains, the place names, and the genetic heritage of the regions they settled. They were not merely raiders, however. They were skilled craftsmen, traders, and explorers who established settlements and trade routes that would shape the course of history. Their settlements, from the bustling markets of Dublin to the remote outposts in Greenland, were centers of commerce and culture. They mapped new lands, pushing the boundaries of the known world. Theirs is a story of survival against the odds, of a people pushing the boundaries of the known world and leaving behind a legacy as complex and fascinating as the intricate carvings on their longships. Their voyages were not just about conquest, but also about discovery and adaptation. They braved icy waters and unknown territories, driven by a spirit of exploration and resilience. The legacy of the Vikings is as intricate and enduring as the carvings on their longships. Their story is one of adventure, innovation, and a profound impact on the world that continues to captivate our imagination. Imagine stepping into a Viking longhouse, a structure that stands as a testament to the ingenuity and resilience of the Norse people. The air is thick with the scent of wood smoke, a familiar and comforting aroma that permeates the entire space. The murmur of voices fills the room, creating a lively atmosphere. These sturdy dwellings, the heart of any Viking settlement, were built for practicality and warmth in a harsh climate. Constructed from timber, often with wattle and daub walls, longhouses were long and narrow, housing extended families and their animals under one roof. A central fire pit provided warmth and light, essential for survival during the long, cold winters. The smoke from the fire would escape through a hole in the roof, a simple yet effective ventilation system. Benches along the walls served as both seating and beds covered with furs and textiles for comfort. These furs were often from animals hunted by the Vikings themselves, adding a personal touch to their living spaces. The chieftain and his family would have had a slightly more private space at one end of the longhouse, while the other end was reserved for livestock. This arrangement ensured that the animals, crucial for the family's survival, were kept safe and warm. While the longhouse served as the primary dwelling, smaller outbuildings dotted the settlement, used for storage, craft work, or even as sweat lodges. These outbuildings were essential for the various activities that sustained Viking life. Life was communal, with families working together to maintain their homes and the surrounding land. This sense of community was vital for survival and prosperity. These homes, though simple in design, were built to withstand the elements and foster a strong sense of community. Their very construction reflected the Vikings' resourcefulness and their ability to adapt to the challenges of their environment. Despite the constant threat of raids and conflict, Viking settlements were places of vibrant life where families grew, stories were shared, and skills were passed down through generations. The warmth of the longhouse fire, the laughter of children playing, and the sense of security provided by the sturdy walls created a nurturing environment. The rhythmic clang of the blacksmith's hammer, the sounds of weaving and crafting, and the daily chores all contributed to the rich tapestry of Viking life. These were the sounds of everyday life in the Viking Age, a time when community and resilience were the cornerstones of survival. The Vikings, despite their fearsome reputation, were a surprisingly stylish people. Their attire was not just about protection from the harsh Scandinavian climate, but also a reflection of their identity and social standing. Their clothing, far from being simple animal hides, reflected their status, skills, and the resources available to them. The materials and designs varied significantly, indicating a complex society with a keen sense of aesthetics. Wool and linen, woven on upright looms, formed the basis of their garments. These fabrics were durable and versatile, suitable for the varied activities and harsh weather conditions the Vikings faced. Men wore tunics and trousers, while women donned long dresses with aprons, often held in place with brooches of bronze or silver. These garments were not only practical, but also allowed for a degree of personal expression through their decoration and accessories. These brooches, often intricately designed, were not just functional but also served as a form of adornment and a way to display wealth and status. The craftsmanship of these pieces highlights the Vikings' skill in metalwork and their appreciation for beauty. Brightly colored dyes extracted from plants and minerals added vibrancy to their clothing. These dyes were often expensive and time-consuming to produce, making brightly colored garments a sign of wealth and status. Contrary to popular belief, there is no evidence that Vikings wore horned helmets. These were a much later invention. Instead, their headgear was practical, designed to offer protection in battle without the fanciful adornments we often associate with them today. Within Viking society, roles were clearly defined. Each member of the community had specific duties that contributed to the overall well-being and survival of the group. Men were primarily responsible for farming, fishing, hunting, and warfare. These activities were essential for providing food and protection, ensuring the community could thrive even in challenging conditions. While women managed the household, cared for children, and engaged in crafts like weaving, brewing, and cheesemaking, these tasks were vital for maintaining daily life and ensuring the community's sustainability. However, women could also own property, engage in trade, and even participate in Viking raids, showcasing a surprising degree of independence for the time. This level of autonomy was unusual in many contemporary societies and speaks to the unique social structure of the Vikings. Skilled craftsmen held high status within the community. Their expertise in creating tools, weapons, and everyday items was crucial for the Vikings' way of life. Blacksmiths, woodcarvers, silversmiths, and boat builders played vital roles, their skills essential for the survival and prosperity of the settlement. The quality of their work could mean the difference between success and failure in both daily life and exploration. This division of labor, while seemingly rigid, allowed the Vikings to thrive in often unforgiving environments, highlighting their practicality and their strong sense of community spirit. Each role, whether in the home, the field, or the workshop, was respected and valued, contributing to the overall strength and resilience of Viking society. The Vikings were not only warriors and raiders, they were also farmers, fishermen, and traders. Their survival depended on their ability to exploit the resources of both land and sea. Farming formed the backbone of their economy, with barley, oats and rye being staple crops. Livestock, including sheep, goats, pigs and cattle, provided meat, milk and wool. The sea, however, held a special allure for the Vikings. They were skilled fishermen, hauling in cod, herring and other fish that supplemented their diet. Whaling, though dangerous, was a lucrative endeavor, providing meat, oil for lamps and bone for tools and ornaments. Trade, however, was where the Vikings truly excelled. Their longships, capable of navigating rivers and seas, allowed them to establish vast trade networks. From the east, they brought back silk, spices, and silver. From the west, wool, slaves, and walrus ivory. These goods were then traded throughout Scandinavia and beyond, bringing wealth and exotic goods to Viking communities. This entrepreneurial spirit, combined with their seafaring prowess, brought them into contact with diverse cultures and played a significant role in shaping the political and economic landscape of medieval Europe.